Howdy folks, Grizz here, and happy birthday to me. What do we have? We have a big brown box. And what's next to it? It's the XL 650 from Dillon Precision. I'll be going through, I'm not going to do an unboxing video per se. If you want one, there's plenty out there. But I will try to detail the setup and hopefully be able to give guys who are just thinking about one an idea of what it takes to get one set up. So we'll be back tomorrow morning. Tonight I'm going to get out the instructions and study those and watch the DVD. So we'll check back in with you soon. Good morning. Grizz here, and I'm back and ready to start assembly and setup of my new Dillon 650. As you can see, I have all of the parts laid out on a table. I brought in a folding table into the shop just to help me organize the parts and stay organized. And according to the manual, they start with mounting it to a bench, but since I have the strong mount, I am going to start there. And one thing to note on the strong mount, the bullet tray goes on the left hand side if you're looking at the front of the press, and the chute for completed ammo goes on the right side, and you need to put that on as you're mounting the strong mount from the looks of things. So, and I'll show you here's my little loading table. It's not ideal, not what most guys will want for a loading bench, but for right now it's what I have. We're kind of in the process of trying to get this house ready to sell and a new one, and at the new house I will figure out something a little more permanent. You can see I have my rock chucker mounted into the bench there. Makes it a lot more stable, and this bench has been plenty stable for the rock chucker. So may wind up moving the powder measure. And I've had, you've seen in other videos, the Lee load-all mounted kind of right in there. You can see the holes. And I'm sure that is going to have to move. But we'll see what kind of footprint the 650 takes up. Another handy thing I have out is some trays for loose parts. Okay, I am going to get busy on the strong mount, bullet tray, completed round bin and tool set, and then it's going to start looking like a press. I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, it's starting to look a little bit more like a press. I put on the strong mounts, and one thing you need to know and pay attention to when you're putting on the strong mount is on the right hand side, the bin bracket and completed shell chute needs to go on there on the right hand side. This may be blurry, I'm not sure. The left hand side gets the bullet tray, as you can see. And then on the back I put the little tool holder. Now, one thing I found out is that the tool holder goes on to the strong mount bolts. So I waited until last to do that and had to take those two bolts back out to get it in there. But, you know, not a huge deal. But if you're paying attention, you won't have to go back and redo things. One thing I discovered after I was done is that the 1-inch wrench here has a 7/16 on the other end, which you need. And to put all this together, I used a 7/16 nut driver, which is handy, and two 7/16 wrenches. I could have got away with one had I known that there was a 7/16 in there. Okay, next up I am going to put on the roller handle so I can move the platter or whatever you want to call that up, so I know the down position of the handle, so I know how far back from the front of the bench I need to mount it. So I will check back in with you when I get a little bit farther. But it is looking like a press. Okay, just a quick update. As you can see, I got the case feeder on. Case feed tube. Got it mounted to the bench. One thing I did, pardon the squeaky chair there. Let's see if you can see that. I replaced the case or the spent primer bucket bracket with a Unique Tech thing and put the tube on there. And it recommended drilling a 1/2 inch hole in your bench. I actually went with 3/4, knowing that that tube is actually going to travel with the tool head, and to give it plenty of room to operate up and down without binding, hopefully. Looks like there's a little hitch in it, but I imagine if I clean up the edges of that hole, that might take care of that. So anyway, there you have it. So far, I'm going to take a break for lunch and come out and start adjusting some dies. Okay, here we are, basically set up. I need to put some powder in and dial in the powder charge, but other than that, she's pretty well ready to rock and roll. I know some of you probably want videos on how to adjust the dies, but that's kind of hard to photograph, and it's a lot of just cranking them down 1/8, 1/4, 1/2 a turn, and trying again. The instructions that come with the dies and the Dillon DVD are pretty good. One thing to note about the Dillon DVD is after basic setup, it goes right into rifle loading, and then when it actually gets to loading for pistols, it has you doing a full-blown caliber conversion, which of course you don't need if you're setting up for the caliber that you ordered in. So you won't have to change all the case feed parts or the orientation of this cam or the shell plate or a lot of that stuff. It's a matter of getting stuff on the outside, the bin and the tray and all of that, and then getting your dies dialed in, and then you have a nice beautiful Dillon XL 650 ready to rock and roll. So I'll probably tack on one more segment with me actually cranking out some rounds, like we haven't all seen that before, but you haven't seen me do it, so I'll just cut this one there. Okay, we're back. I got the powder charge dialed in and the RCBS powder check die adjusted and installed, and in the next little segment I will put the camera on a tripod and demonstrate how that works, and after that I'll load some primers and cases in the case feeder and run a few. Okay, to start with, we're going to put a spent shell, still has the used primer in there, into station number 2. Run it up to flare and powder charge, and then the shell plate rotates around to the powder check, and it has the correct powder charge, so it works just fine. Now let's take that same shell without emptying the powder, put it back in the flare, run it up, and it's dropping another load of powder in there. So now we have a double charge case, and it will not, the powder check die will not allow full extension or a full throw of the lever. Boy, can I talk or not? So if you were going real fast, you might smash that case, but I would rather smash a case than wind up with a double charging around and possibly blow up a gun. Let's go ahead and dump this powder. Pull the locator pin and just slide this now empty case into the powder check station and run it up. And now with no powder, again, it locks the press. It will not allow us the full stroke, so we know to stop and find out what's going on. So there you have it, the operation of the RCBS powder check die in action. Okay, the first time I tried this, I ran into a little hiccup and had to take the primer system and the shell plate off, but that was just me trying to do too many things at one time before I really knew what I was doing. But now you can see we get a completed round with every pull of the handle.